Good morning. It is Wednesday. Final day of the week for the morning break. Always got to finish off strong. Jody Powell's going to be with us. Falls Count Anywhere. Number one show on Monday nights on Abundant TV. He's going to be here. We're going to talk about if he and I were a tag team, who would we face? And would we be the good guys or the bad guys? That is coming up in our middle segment coming up. But yes, we're going to find out if we were a tag team, would we be the good guys or the bad guys, and who would we face? I think I'd want to be a heel. I got to be honest with you, totally. Being the good guy, being a pastor's kid, first place, you're instantly a heel in real life anyway. So I think I would love that. I'd love the hate, love the whole thing with that. So how are you doing? You ready for fall? By the way, as we get ready for the show moving into late October, early November, and into December, you're going to start to see the collection of hoodies that I have, because it is hoodie season. Definitely now. Last night cooled off here in beautiful Ohio, down into the upper 40s. Low 50s. I think it was 49 at our house last night. So it definitely feels like fall. Kristen, in fact, mentioned last night, she goes, now I can start to put up Christmas stuff. Now it starts to feel like holidays, which right now the house looks kind of like Hobby Lobby blew up for fall here. But now we're moving into the Christmas segment of the fall season here in my world, and it's just I love this. I grew up around decorating for the seasons, so I love it for Kristen that we are to that point. Hey, got to give a shout out to my Seattle Mariners beating the Tigers last night. When I last saw the score before the ninth inning, it was 8-1, ended up being 8-4 for the final. Mariners up 2-1 in the series, going for the closeout today. I'm hoping. I would prefer, yes, I would love to see another game in Seattle. But got to be honest, close this out, send the Motor City Kitties home. No, actually, they'll be home. And you know, the sad part about this, though, tickets were ridiculous. I wanted to go because I thought it would be super cool. And then I looked at the weather and went, neither day is super cool. It's going to be like cold, and it was raining last night. We had the rain delay. Of course, you know, people are going to talk about that. Did that affect everything that happened last night? Listen, the best team won. And I hope none of my relatives are actually watching the show, because, you know, and listen, this is what I told my wife last night. I said, listen, I'm cheering for the Mariners. We've never been to the World Series. You've won World Series. We've never been. So that was my discussion yesterday morning. Hey, listen, one of the things I found super interesting this week, and it's a story that's come up a couple of times, and I wanted to share this with you. And I think it's important because as we move towards the end of the year, you start looking at your goals and looking at life in general. And we'll talk to Jody about this, because I think it's kind of an interesting topic. Really trending right now is people kind of focusing and finishing strong for the end of the year. They're calling it faith, focus, and finish strong. And you're seeing this pop up all over social media. And it's super interesting. Jim Rohn is the guy I listen to, and he was a motivational guy. And he said, do 1% better every day. And I hope with this show, and I hope as you watch, that we're doing 1% better. Just a little over a month now that we've been doing this. It'll be about it with this show. It's 6 weeks since we started doing this way. Prior to that, it was a radio show for one of the radio stations that I own. And I hope that you have had as much fun tuning in when you can, and some of the great guests. We've got fantastic guests next week. It's going to be super interesting. I'm going to talk with a gentleman on Monday who came out of a cult and has found his faith moving forward. It is an interesting story. He's written a book. We're going to talk to him on Monday, and just a great week of guests next week, and excited about that. Thanks for taking time out of your Monday schedule, your morning schedule, not just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, your schedule to hang out with us here on the morning break. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for sharing this. And just, hey, listen, I'm so humbled by what we're seeing and what God is doing. By the way, and this is something kind of interesting. Today marks the anniversary of the Chicago fire, 1871. And you know what? They did this study about it and asked like people under 30 if they even knew what the Chicago fire was. Less than 20% could in any way discuss what the Chicago fire was. Now, I don't remember for sure that we learned it in history, but I remember reading books about it in school about the Chicago fire. Super interesting stuff. As I mentioned, it is fall, except for some of the places you're seeing on the scroll, like Miami, where it's not fall at all. Minnesota, of course, Minneapolis, 60 degrees. And yeah, it's definitely cooling down. Boston, 72. It's going to be kind of wet throughout the Northeast corridor, which technically I'm in the Midwest, but our weather is very much Northeast corridor kind of stuff, which means you break out the really good coffee. Great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. They do a fantastic job. If you haven't ordered yet, go to 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 when you order. Let me tell you this just really simple stuff. And I've talked about it all week long. Order the variety pack. Get all four. You may not be like me. You may not like a coffee that is a dark roast. You might like just a mild blend. They've got you covered. Get the variety pack. It's 4 different blends of coffee. Now, these are short roast coffees. These are small batch coffees. Amazing. They're fresh. They're guaranteed to be fresh. My wife, who doesn't drink coffee, loves when I open a new bag. She says it just makes the house smell fantastic. Go to 7 Weeks Coffee. Use the promo code ATV10 when you order. When we come back after the break, the man, the myth, the legend from Falls Count Anywhere, Jody Powell, after this.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
Hey, great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. Remember, use the promo code ATV10. The man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jody Powell here with us. Falls Con Anywhere, the #1 show Monday nights on Abundant TV, 7 p.m. Eastern time. He has a headlock on that ratings thing right now. And I just thought I'd share that with you.
That's punny. That's punny, Rob. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. So the question I started the show with, if you were listening or even slightly paying attention, if we were a tag team, would we be the good guys or the bad guys?
Are you kidding me?
And who would we wrestle?
Okay, first of all, we would absolutely be a heel team. I completely agree with you. I don't know if my mom has figured out how to watch this on Facebook. So hopefully she's watching right now. But she's a preacher's kid, so she gets it. You're a heel immediately. Yep. Everyone's watching you. We definitely would be a heel tag team, and I'm thinking something like our tag team name could be something like Network Disruption or something like that. And who would we face? I'll tell you who I would absolutely be scared to death and love to face: the Road Warriors. Favorite tag team of all time, Animal and Hawk. Queen or not Queen, Iron Man hitting the sound, and they're just charging the ring, and oh man, what a rush! As
What a rush!
What a rush! But yeah, I'd love that, man. That'd be fantastic.
So I've read some stories about them because that was our youth. I don't think I would want to wrestle them because I have heard a little bit about that, and that you got hurt wrestling against them because in wrestling, the term is called being stiff. They were very stiff, and like when they hit you, they really hit you. It was not just an act, because people would say, man, it looks so realistic, and this one gentleman from a tag team goes, it was realistic because they were really hitting us.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is that and they were stiff. They were stiff workers, but if you're gonna be in wrestling, you're gonna get hit. I mean, it can say it looks realistic because pretty much everyone gets hit. I have not had a match. I've not wrestled. I'm not speaking from a ton of experience. My experience in the ring, though, and being around these guys is that it needs to look real. So let's kind of make it real. So
but you have taken a chair shot.
Taking a chair shot is real, man. You feel it. It doesn't feel as bad as it sounds, right? A lot of this is up here in terms of taking a punch, taking a chair shot, doing a bump, taking a backflip, whatever it is. It's more getting over the mental thought of knowing this is coming. Like, if you're in a real fight, you don't know what's coming. If you're wrestling, the next bump or the next spot and whatever you're going to do. And so mentally, you have to get over the fact that, okay, I'm about to fly 7 feet in the air, do a flip and land on my back and be okay with it. That's the hardest part.
See, now going back to the who we'd face, I would rather face like the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
Because even when I was younger and I was playing sports, I was going, those guys, I could really, and if it was a real fight, I probably could take them.
I don't know. I met Ricky Morton a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and Ricky is first of all just a legend in the business. He continues to wrestle to this day, and he's in his upper 60s. I don't think I would want to square off with Ricky behind the barn or in an alley or something. I mean, dude is intense, and he loves it. He has such a passion for the business. And I'd love to face Rock and Roll Express as well. Ricky and Robert were, outside of the Horsemen, those were my guys growing up. I had the bandanas and all that kind of stuff. So that'd be that.
Oh, so I just saw this. So we have Jim Cornette as our manager.
Yes,
there we go.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think you could air that on Abundant, but yes.
Well, if Jim wasn't mic'd up, we could air it.
Right. There you go. He's opinionated. But yeah, that'd be incredible. I think today, if you're thinking about today, who you would want to face, I really like what the Young Bucks do, and not a lot of people talk about the Young Bucks. I think they're one of the better tag teams around, and I'd love to.
Do you think they get hate because of the marketing side? They were the real guys that came up with the whole All Elite thing where they did the videos on YouTube. And if you don't know what that is, go look up the early stuff before AEW was an actual wrestling thing. They were doing these videos from like Japan and all over. And I know that the older wrestling fan does not like it because it is a little gimmicky, a little showy, but those guys legitimately you can tell are very smart.
They're very smart. They're, wrestling is all about getting over. How do you get over? And it's trial and error. It's trying things. And they were, you really have to be a good marketer to get over in wrestling, because ultimately you're trying to appeal to a mass audience. What's going to quote unquote get the buy, right? What's going to get them to buy into you? And that's what those guys did. And it did not go well with some of the purists. But it's that way in any sport, Rob. You were talking about the Mariners just a while ago. Think about baseball. I believe I heard that next year they're going to be doing video reviews on balls and strikes. As a baseball purist, can you imagine the vitriol that is probably coming out of their mouth right now?
I don't like here's and I'm going to be the guy that says it now. I talked about this on the air a couple days ago because I was a season ticket holder. I did games when I was in Seattle, and I'm not a huge fan of the whole pitch clock thing.
Me either.
Because it's fine, and I'm okay with it, and I get it because some of those games were going 4 hours and 4 hours and 10 minutes, and you're like, especially like first pitch in Seattle when it was 7:05, it meant you weren't out of there until like 11:30 at night, and you had to go to work the next day.
Right.
But the review on the balls and strikes thing, yeah, I saw that, and I was like, that, if we're gonna kill the sport, let's just keep moving on the because now but here's my thing on that, Jody, and this because you if you like football at all, realize it slows down the football game when they're reviewing, and you're like, holy cow, this is like breaking rhythm for any sport. And I'm waiting. I seriously am waiting for one of the wrestling federations to have instant replay. I think it would go the hook. I mean, come on, really? If you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it can be used in an incredible way. It will never be what instant replay is in football or something like that because things are supposed to happen, and sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't. I mean, my latest thing that I've kind of ranted on, and I talked about it in last Monday's Falls Count Anywhere, was just the terrible refereeing job that happened on SmackDown a couple of weeks ago when there was a pin. It was a clear 3 count. Nia Jax did not kick out, and the referee just swiped and counted 2 and said 2 count, and everyone's like, 2? What do you mean no one kicked out? What do you mean? And in fact, I reached out to Teddy Long, and a lot of people don't know. If you don't know Teddy Long, then you're not a wrestling fan. But a lot of people know Teddy Long from being a manager, from being the SmackDown general manager. Teddy Long started as a referee. Not a lot of people know that. Now, we know that as historians and kind of grew up in it. So I reached out to Teddy. I said, Teddy, isn't the referee supposed to count 3 no matter what? He said, this is what he said, literal message he sent back. Absolutely, playa. and so,
but yeah, because they're in, I mean, and for those of you that don't know, or if you're a small child, you can turn away now. They're in on the finish. They know what's going to happen.
Well, and part of that too. So it kind of comes back to what you're talking about, this purist deal versus the evolution of a sport. Now, referees, back in the day, it was always taught, referees are there for 2 reasons: to communicate, because they did have the earpieces. They're talking with the wrestlers. If it's time to quote unquote go home, you tell them go home. That means hit your finish. Let's end this match. And so there's communication happening a lot. And then your other job was to enforce the rules and count the pins. Regardless of whether you know the ending or know how it's supposed to end or not, it was the wrestler's responsibility to kick out. Now, as a referee, that's why you see them at their head counting and shouting 1, 2. It's not because they want the fans to, it's so they're sure that the wrestlers understand and hear where they are in the count so they know when to kick out. And so now what has evolved, especially since TKO took over WWE and Vince McMahon has kind of moved on and moved out, is this evolution of what the referee's responsibilities are. And so now this count 3 no matter what rule has kind of been pulled back, and it puts referees in a bad position. Honestly, yes, it was a bad refereeing job, but it wasn't technically the referee's fault, because I'm sure she was getting a ton of information in the ear that this is not the finish, this is not the finish. So she counts 2 and says 2 count. It's really on the people in the gorilla. It's really on the people in the back that are feeding her this. It should have been on the wrestler. If that wasn't the pin, should have kicked out, should have been a 2 count. And if you don't, I'm counting 3, you lose, too bad. Your fault.
Yes. Oh yeah. But that's kind of like in life is that way. Sometimes communication, and you work in the business world, sometimes communication gets messed up between all your workers and everything that's going on.
It does, and that's where the breakdown can occur in all kinds of things when you're not clearly communicating and you're not validating. And a lot of people think communicating is all about speaking. Communication is 90% active listening, 10% speaking, in my opinion. So when someone tells you something, whether it's in a business setting, in a sports setting, whatever, it's always good to say, so what I'm hearing you say is, and let's be sure we're on the same page. Because if you don't have clear communication, things are just going to get, as we say in the wrestling business, botched.
Yes. So what have you heard about this whole trend on social media about finishing the year strong? And what is one thing for you that you want to finish this year strong? I've got a couple goals. And I'm not going to talk about one of them because if my wife hears this, then my food intake will be cut down. So
Oh, you may have touched on mine. I've been on a little bit of a journey myself. I've dropped about 30. I want to drop about 30 more. I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that by the end of the year, but that's still the goal there. Professionally, I think I've got 4. And I'll just list them and won't go into too much detail. Number 1, I want to do more in-person wrestling events. I want to do more ring announcing. I want to do commentary. I want to do whatever local wrestling federations need, particularly federations like EPW that are federations of faith and really share a Christian message. So I want to do more of that. 2, I am in the middle of writing a book, and I don't know that I'll finish it by the end of the year, but I want to make some really, really good progress on that book. 3, and you can see behind me, I've got a couple of things on my wall there. There's one that says the Quotivation Podcast, and that was a podcast I had about a year or so ago that probably was not the right format. So I'm going to reformat it and I'm going to relaunch it. I loved doing that podcast. I want to bring that back.
So what's the podcast about before you get on to the 4th one?
Yeah. So the podcast is about, I love quotes. Rob, they're like, when I feel like I'm in a rut or I'm just can't get going on something, I look for inspirational quotes. And what I was doing before, I was trying to find people to come onto the podcast and tell me their favorite quote, and we talk about it. And it was just too long. Like I was going hour and 15-minute podcast. And I'm like, nobody's going to listen to that. Wow. And so what I want to do is to kind of reformat it to be a lot like the morning break, just a 30-minute. Here's a little bit of me. Here's a random quote for the week. And ultimately my goal is to motivate people that are just struggling to figure out how to get through the week. I want you to win your week. That's what I always said. Win your week. And I want to use quotes to help people do that, to be motivated and inspired to do that. So be on the lookout for that. I don't know when. By the end of the year, apparently.
Man, I think that'd be killer. I think that would be awesome because really, truthfully, the start of the week, your Monday, and I hate to be cliche, but how you start your Monday is how your week goes. If you have a good plan for Monday, your week goes that way. Okay, and number 4.
Number 4 is Falls Count Anywhere. How do we continue to grow it, expand it? I want to get other people involved. I want to do more interviews. I'm reaching out, making some connections in the wrestling industry, trying to get people to come on the show. I want it to be, I want it to grow into something that you will look at and say, man, a Falls Count Anywhere is the best show on Abundant TV. Not because I want it to grow for me, but I really believe in the 2 things that we do is try to talk about the entertainment of professional wrestling. And then 2, especially expanding on Finding Tomorrow, which is our final segment of the show. And there we talk about, just the struggle that we have as Christians living in a broken world. And that's what I want to expand upon. I want to grow it. I want to have guests on that are specifically targeted for men's mental health and those kind of things.
So important, men's mental health. And it's why we're going to have Jody on again. He's going to be a regular part because, we're now a tag team. And we got to figure out who next we're going to face after the Rock and Roll Express.
Maybe somebody in EPW. Maybe we can show up on a Saturday night in Dallas, right outside of Dallas in Rockwall, Texas, and take on, they're tag team champions or
No,
something.
I saw their tag team champions. I want no part. They're about half our age, buddy.
I mean, well, who isn't half our age?
Yeah.
Business, right?
Jody Powell, Falls County Anywhere. Thanks, buddy, for being with us. When we come back, final thoughts for today.
Social media today is noisy, divided, and too often hostile to Christian values, a place where truth is twisted and faith is often silenced. What if there was a place for believers where you could share your story, grow in your faith, and be encouraged every day? Introducing Acts Social, the #1 Christ-centered social platform built to unite Christians worldwide in truth, hope, and love. Share your faith openly. Discover powerful, uplifting content. Join prayer groups. Encourage others. Find news and events from a biblical worldview all in one place. And do it all free from big tech censorship, invasive tracking, and endless ads. Because the body of Christ was never meant to be scattered. It was meant to be together, every day, everywhere. ActsSocial.com, the fastest growing platform for Christ-centered connection. Join us and be part of something eternal.
Hey, I want to thank the great folks at Act Social for being a part of what we're doing here. That's ActsSocial.com. Head over there and sign up. Use the promo code ATV, and you can follow me and follow the fastest growing group currently on Act Social, and that is the Abundant Group. We talk about everything related to Abundant TV, our Bible study that we're getting ready to launch, all kinds of neat stuff going on there. You want to check it out, and it's crazy. Thanks to Jody Powell for being with us. Time goes by way too fast. Fun interview today. Remember, check out Falls Count Anywhere Mondays at 7 Eastern time. And Jody's a great guy, and I am so blessed not only to have him on the network, but to call him a good friend. And we appreciate Jody and all that he does with Falls Count Anywhere. Man, it has been a crazy day. By the way, closing this out, and if you've never had them before, you need to check it out. It is National Pierogi Day. If you've never had pierogies before, you need to. It's basically a dumpling. They make them with different stuff inside. My mom used to make cheese pierogies, which were incredible. Very fortunate that I live near an area with a large Polish community. So you can still get pierogies here. You can get them at your grocery store if you don't live near a large community of Polish people, but fantastic. Love them just alone. Like I can eat like a whole bunch of them. A friend of mine dips his in ranch dressing. He's obviously from Minnesota, so he does that. National Pierogi Day. Also, it is the start of it's Prime Day. I didn't realize that we had them like during different times of the year. It's Prime Day. My wife knew about it. I did not. That is not a shock. Actually, the Amazon guy checked on us. It had been 3 days since we had a package. He did a wellness check on us yesterday. So I appreciate that so much. Where has the time gone? It has gone by way too fast. Another great edition. And again, thanks to Jody Powell. Falls Count Anywhere, Monday nights. And of course, he talked about EPW, #1 show on Saturday. Check them out. If you love Christian wrestling or wrestling in general and want to hear it, see it from a faith-based platform, check out EPW. 6 p.m. Eastern time on Abundant TV. Changing the way you think about Christian television. That's what we say. Morning break, Monday through Wednesday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. And I always hate Wednesdays because I'm going to miss you guys until next week. But if you miss me, you can check us out tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time for Thrive with Jason Webb. We do that live. You can find it on your favorite social media platform. Follow me all throughout Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, all of those places, and we can hang out. Hey, listen, hope you've enjoyed your morning. Go out and kill it today, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Morning Break.